Imagine standing beside a well in the middle of a desert. Every thirsty traveler comes to drink from it, day after day, year after year, until one day the well begins to dry. Not because it stopped giving, but because nobody ever asked if it needed water too. Many kind people live exactly like that. They keep giving, forgiving, helping, sacrificing, and smiling, while quietly breaking inside. But what if I told you that Allah never asked you to destroy yourself for people? What if I told you that some of the pain in your life comes from confusing kindness with unlimited access? Tonight, learn the difference between being kind for Allah and being used by people, because one will bring peace to your heart, the other will slowly steal it. 1. Kindness without wisdom becomes self-harm. Your kindness is a gift from Allah, and a soft heart is not something to be ashamed of. In a world where many people have become cold, selfish, and harsh, the fact that you still care, still forgive, still help, and still feel pain for others is a sign that Allah has placed mercy inside you. But listen carefully, because this is where many good people get hurt. Every gift Allah gives you needs wisdom to protect it. Wealth without wisdom gets wasted. Knowledge without wisdom becomes arrogance. Strength without wisdom becomes oppression. And kindness without wisdom becomes self-harm. Some people think being a good Muslim means saying yes to everything, accepting every insult, answering every call, giving every favor, forgiving every betrayal, and staying available even when their soul is tired. They think sabr means letting people walk over them. They think humility means allowing others to humiliate them. They think forgiveness means opening the same door again and again for the same person to enter and hurt them in the same way. But this is not the balanced path of Islam. It teaches mercy, but Islam also teaches dignity. Islam teaches forgiveness, but Islam also teaches justice. Islam teaches patience, but Islam never teaches you to become a tool in the hands of people who have no fear of Allah in how they treat you. You need to understand this deeply. Allah did not create your heart so people could empty it whenever they feel bored, lonely, angry, or needy. Allah did not command you to destroy your peace just to keep someone else comfortable. Allah did not give you emotions so people could manipulate them. There is a difference between helping someone and allowing them to depend on you in a way that damages you. There is a difference between being generous and being used. There is a difference between being kind and being afraid to set boundaries because you fear people will leave you. Sometimes the person using your kindness will not look like an enemy. They may smile at you. They may praise you when they need something. They may call you good, Kareem, different, and special. But the moment you say no, their face changes. The moment you protect your time, they accuse you. The moment you stop giving them unlimited access, they say you have changed. This is how you know they did not love your kindness. They loved the benefit they were getting from it. They were not attached to your heart. They were attached to your availability. A kind heart must also be an awake heart. You cannot keep giving your energy to people who only remember you when they need help, only respect you when you obey them, and only speak nicely when they want something from you. As long as you are always there, always forgiving, always explaining, always available, and always sacrificing, some people will never ask, "Am I hurting this person?" They will only ask, "How much more can I take?" This is why wisdom is necessary. Without wisdom, your mercy becomes a doorway for manipulation. Being kind does not mean you must answer every message immediately. Being kind does not mean you must explain your pain to someone committed to misunderstanding you. Being kind does not mean you must keep helping people who never appreciate you, never change, and never care about the damage they leave inside you. You can forgive someone and still create distance. You can make dua for someone and still stop giving them access. You can wish them goodness and still protect your peace. This is not hatred. This is not arrogance. This is maturity. The Prophet ﷺ was the most merciful of people, yet he was not weak. His mercy had strength. His gentleness had wisdom. His forgiveness did not mean people were allowed to destroy the truth, abuse the weak, or continue harming others without accountability. So why do you think your kindness must mean losing yourself? Why do you think being spiritual means having no boundaries? A believer is not cruel, but a believer is also not foolish. A believer is not hard-hearted, but a believer is also not easily controlled. So protect your kindness with wisdom. Help people, but do not let them empty you. Forgive people, but do not hand them the same knife again. Be soft, but do not be careless with your soul. Give for the sake of Allah, but do not give because you are afraid of rejection. Love people, but do not make their approval your qibla. Your kindness should bring you closer to Allah, not make you lose your dignity in front of people. From today, remind yourself that your soft heart is an amana. It is something Allah trusted you with, and you must protect it from those who only know how to take. Stay kind but become wise. Stay merciful but become awake. Stay gentle but stop being available for disrespect. Because when kindness is guided by wisdom, it becomes strength. But when kindness has no boundaries, it becomes a wound that never gets time to heal. 2. Stop confusing guilt with goodness. One of the biggest traps for a kind person is guilt. Not real guilt that comes when you disobey Allah, hurt someone unfairly, or break a trust. I am talking about the false guilt people place inside you when they can no longer benefit from your weakness. This is the guilt that makes you feel bad for saying no, bad for needing rest, bad for protecting your peace, bad for walking away from repeated disrespect, and bad for finally choosing the dignity Allah already gave you. Some people know exactly how to use your soft heart against you. They know you do not like hurting anyone. They know you fear disappointing people. They know you overthink your words at night. They know you will blame yourself even when you are the one who was harmed. So instead of respecting your kindness, they learn how to control it. They say you changed. They say, I thought you were a good person. They say, after everything I did for you, this is how you treat me. They say, if you really cared, you would do this for me. And because your heart is sincere, you start questioning yourself. You start thinking, maybe I am selfish. You start wondering, maybe I am being harsh. You start asking, maybe Allah is displeased with me because I did not keep giving. But listen carefully. Not every guilt you feel is a sign that you did something wrong. Sometimes guilt is only a withdrawal pain from years of people pleasing. Sometimes guilt is the emotional noise that comes when you finally stop betraying yourself. Sometimes guilt is the sound of your old weakness dying. This is why you must learn the difference between goodness and manipulation. Goodness brings peace to the soul, even when it requires sacrifice. Manipulation brings confusion, fear, and emotional pressure. Goodness is done for Allah. Manipulation is done because you are afraid of someone's reaction. Goodness makes your heart clean. Manipulation makes your heart heavy. Goodness gives with dignity. Manipulation gives while silently bleeding. Islam does not teach you to live as a prisoner of people's expectations. Islam teaches you to fulfill rights, but it also teaches that your own soul has a right over you. Your body has a right over you. Your time has a right over you. Your worship has a right over you. Your mental peace has a right over you. You cannot keep pouring into people until you have nothing left for your salah, your dua, your family, your health, and your relationship with Allah. Some people only call you good when you are useful to them. As long as you are answering, helping, giving, listening, forgiving, and sacrificing, they praise you. But the moment you put a limit, they make you feel cruel. The moment you choose peace, they call it pride. The moment you stop carrying their emotional burden, they call it betrayal. This is not love. This is control wearing the mask of attachment. A person who truly values you will not punish you for having limits. A person who truly respects you will not make you feel guilty for being tired. A person who fears Allah will not use religion to force you into emotional slavery. They will not say, be patient, only because your patience benefits them. They will not say forgive, only because they do not want accountability. They will not say, you are a good Muslim, so you should help me, while they keep ignoring the pain they caused you. You need to ask yourself a powerful question whenever guilt rises in your chest. Am I disobeying Allah, or am I just disappointing someone who benefited from my lack of boundaries? This question can save your heart, because many times you are not doing anything wrong. You are only doing something new. You are finally respecting yourself. You are finally stopping the habit of saying yes while your soul is crying no. You are finally understanding that kindness does not mean making everyone comfortable at the cost of your own peace. There will be moments when saying no feels painful, not because it is wrong, but because you are not used to choosing yourself in a halal and dignified way. You are used to being available. You are used to explaining. You are used to feeling responsible for everyone's emotions. You are used to thinking that if someone is upset with you, then you must be guilty. But sometimes people are upset because they can no longer control you. Sometimes people are angry because you finally stopped giving them access to the version of you they could easily use. So stop confusing guilt with goodness. A clean boundary is not a sin. Rest is not selfishness. Distance from harm is not cruelty. Silence after repeated disrespect is not arrogance. Protecting your heart is not betrayal. You can be a good Muslim and still say no. You can be kind and still walk away. You can forgive and still not return. You can love people and still refuse to be used by them. From today, do not let false guilt drag you back into the same pain Allah is trying to pull you out of. If your intention is clean, your words are respectful, and your boundary is not built on revenge, then trust Allah with the outcome. Let people misunderstand you if they want. Let them be upset if they must. Let them call you changed if they cannot control you anymore. Because sometimes changing is not a sign that your heart became hard. Sometimes changing means your heart finally became wise. Be good for the sake of Allah, not guilty for the sake of people. Give with love, not fear. Help with sincerity, not pressure. And when your heart feels guilty for protecting itself, remind it gently. Allah did not create me to be used. Allah created me to worship Him with dignity. 3. The wrong people will call your boundaries pride. One of the hardest things you will ever learn is that not everyone will celebrate your growth. Not everyone will be happy when you become stronger. Not everyone will support your healing. In fact, some people only liked the version of you that had no boundaries. They liked the version of you that always said yes. They liked the version of you that stayed silent when hurt. They liked the version of you that apologized even when you were the one being wronged. They liked the version of you that gave endlessly without asking for respect in return. As long as you were easy to use, they called you kind. As long as you were easy to manipulate, they called you humble. As long as you accepted everything without question, they called you patient. But the moment you begin protecting your peace, something changes. Suddenly, they say you have become arrogant. Suddenly, they say you have changed. Suddenly, they accuse you of becoming cold, distant, selfish, or difficult. Why? Because the version of you they benefited from is disappearing, and that makes them uncomfortable. This is a reality many believers struggle to understand. Not everyone misses you because they love you. Some people miss the access they had to you. Some people miss the control they had over you. Some people miss the convenience of having someone who always sacrificed their own needs to satisfy theirs. When that access disappears, they do not always respond with understanding. Sometimes they respond with criticism. Sometimes they respond with guilt. Sometimes they respond with accusations. And one of the most common accusations is this: you've become proud. But protecting your peace is not pride. Protecting your heart is not arrogance. Having standards is not ego. Learning from your pain is not selfishness. The problem is that many people confuse boundaries with rejection. When you stop allowing certain behaviors, they feel rejected. When you stop tolerating disrespect, they feel exposed. When you stop giving unlimited access, they feel restricted. Instead of examining their own actions, they blame your boundaries. This is why wisdom is necessary. Because if you are not careful, you will start believing them. You will start feeling guilty for growing. You will start apologizing for protecting yourself. You will start questioning decisions that Allah may have guided you toward. But remember this: not everyone who complains about your boundaries is a victim of them. Some people are simply frustrated because they can no longer benefit from your lack of boundaries. There is a huge difference. A believer must understand that Islam is a religion of balance. Allah does not ask you to become harsh. Allah does not ask you to become cold-hearted. Allah does not ask you to cut people off over every mistake. But Allah also does not ask you to become a doormat. Look at the life of the Prophet ﷺ. He was the most merciful person to walk this earth. His heart overflowed with compassion. His character was beautiful. His patience was unmatched. Yet even he had limits. Even he corrected people. Even he walked away from harmful behavior. Even he did not allow people to continuously violate what was right. His mercy was never weakness. His kindness was never foolishness. His forgiveness was never permission for oppression. That is the balance believers must learn. Unfortunately, many people grow up believing that being a good Muslim means accepting everything. They believe every boundary is harsh. Every refusal is rude. Every act of self-respect is pride. But that is not what Islam teaches. Islam teaches dignity. Islam teaches self-respect. Islam teaches justice. Islam teaches wisdom. And wisdom means understanding that not everyone deserves unlimited access to your heart. Think about the people who repeatedly hurt you. How many chances have you already given? How many explanations have you already offered? How many nights have you spent overthinking, crying, making excuses for their behavior, hoping they would change? Sometimes the most painful realization is not that people hurt you. It is realizing they knew they were hurting you and continued anyway. That realization changes everything. Because once you see the pattern clearly, you can no longer pretend it does not exist. And that is often the moment boundaries begin. A boundary is not punishment. A boundary is information. It simply says, this behavior is not acceptable. This access is no longer available. This pattern cannot continue. That is not hatred. That is clarity. Many believers spend years trying to be understood by people who have already decided to misunderstand them. They keep explaining, keep defending, keep justifying, keep trying to prove their intentions. But there comes a point where you must accept a difficult truth. Some people understand your explanation perfectly. They simply do not like it. And no amount of explaining will change that. You are not responsible for managing everyone's opinion of you. You are responsible for your character. You are responsible for your intentions. You are responsible for your relationship with Allah. Beyond that, you must let go. If your boundary is respectful, let it stand. If your distance is necessary, let it remain. If your peace requires less access, do not apologize for it. Not every door that closes must be reopened. Not every relationship must return to what it was. Not every person deserves unlimited opportunities to hurt you. Sometimes the most mature thing you can do is quietly step back. No drama, no revenge, no hatred, no public announcement, just distance, just wisdom, just peace. Because the strongest believers are not the ones who win every argument. The strongest believers are the ones who know when to stop arguing altogether. They know their worth comes from Allah. They know their dignity comes from Allah. They know their peace comes from Allah. And because of that, they stop chasing validation from people. So if someone calls your boundaries pride, do not panic. Look honestly at your heart. Ask yourself, am I acting from arrogance? Or am I protecting what Allah entrusted me with? If the answer is protection, then stay firm. Because boundaries built on wisdom are not signs of pride. They are signs of growth. They are signs of healing. They are signs that Allah may be teaching you a lesson that pain could not teach before. A lesson that every believer eventually learns. You can be kind without being controlled. You can be merciful without being manipulated. You can forgive without giving unlimited access. You can love people and still walk away from what harms your soul. And when you finally understand that, you stop living for people's approval. You start living for Allah's pleasure. And that is where true freedom begins. 4. Your silence is not permission anymore. There comes a moment in life when you realize that your silence has been misunderstood. You stayed quiet because you wanted peace. You stayed quiet because you wanted to avoid conflict. You stayed quiet because you believed patience was the better path. You stayed quiet because you hoped people would eventually understand your heart without you having to explain it. But sometimes, silence sends a message you never intended to send. Sometimes your silence is interpreted as acceptance. Sometimes your silence is interpreted as weakness. Sometimes your silence becomes permission in the minds of people who are already benefiting from your kindness. And that is where many good people suffer. They spend years enduring things they should have addressed. They tolerate behavior they should have corrected. They carry pain they should have spoken about. Not because they are weak, but because they genuinely want peace. The problem is that peace and avoidance are not always the same thing. Many people confuse the two. Real peace comes from wisdom, honesty, and trust in Allah. Avoidance comes from fear. Fear of confrontation, fear of disappointing people, fear of rejection, fear of being misunderstood. And when fear controls your silence, that silence slowly begins to damage your soul. You see, Islam teaches beautiful character. Islam teaches patience. Islam teaches gentleness. Islam teaches controlling anger. But Islam never teaches a believer to silently accept ongoing harm while pretending everything is fine. The Prophet ﷺ did not remain silent when truth needed to be spoken. He spoke with wisdom. He corrected with wisdom. He advised with wisdom. He established boundaries with wisdom. His silence had purpose. His words had purpose. Everything was balanced. That balance is what many believers lose. Some become overly harsh. Others become overly silent. But the strongest path is the middle path. The path where you speak when necessary and remain silent when necessary. The path where your silence is intentional, not fearful. Think about how many times you have been hurt by the same behavior, the same disrespect, the same manipulation, the same broken promises, the same emotional games, the same lack of consideration. Each time you told yourself to be patient. Each time you hoped things would improve. Each time you convinced yourself that speaking up might create problems. So you swallowed your feelings. You buried your frustration. You ignored your pain. You smiled when your heart was exhausted. And eventually, something began to happen. The people around you stopped noticing your limits because you never communicated them. How can people respect boundaries they have never seen? How can they understand your pain if you never acknowledge it yourself? This is why healthy communication is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of maturity. Sometimes the most Islamic thing you can do is respectfully speak the truth, not aggressively, not emotionally, not with revenge, not with insults, but with calmness, with dignity, with sincerity. This behavior is hurting me. This cannot continue. I need space. I need respect. I cannot keep carrying this burden. These statements are not arrogance. These statements are honesty. And honesty is part of faith. Many people wait until they are completely broken before they finally speak. By then, years of pain have accumulated. Years of resentment have accumulated. Years of frustration have accumulated. Then the conversation explodes, not because of one incident, but because of hundreds of incidents that were never addressed. This is why wisdom requires speaking before the damage becomes too deep. A wound treated early heals easier. A wound ignored becomes infected. The same is true for emotional pain. The longer you ignore it, the deeper it goes. The deeper it goes, the harder it becomes to heal. Another important truth is this: not everyone deserves endless explanations. This lesson is crucial because some people genuinely care and deserve communication. Others only use communication as an opportunity to argue. You explain, they twist your words. You clarify, they attack your intentions. You try again, they blame you. Eventually you realize they never wanted understanding. They wanted control. And there is a huge difference. At that point, your silence changes meaning. You are no longer silent because you are afraid. You are silent because you understand. You understand that not every battle deserves your energy. You understand that not every misunderstanding needs correction. You understand that not every accusation deserves a response. The strongest people are not those who win every argument. The strongest people are those who know which arguments are not worth having. Sometimes silence is weakness, but sometimes silence is power. The difference lies in the reason behind it. Silence because of fear weakens you. Silence because of wisdom protects you. Silence because you are afraid to speak is harmful. Silence because you have already spoken enough is strength. There is a silence that comes from insecurity, and there is a silence that comes from certainty. The second type is powerful because it no longer needs validation. It no longer needs approval. It no longer needs everyone to understand. It trusts Allah, and that trust changes everything. Many believers spend years trying to prove their goodness to people, trying to prove their intentions, trying to prove their loyalty, trying to prove their sincerity. But eventually they discover something liberating. The people determined to misunderstand you will misunderstand you anyway. No explanations is enough. No evidence is enough. No sacrifice is enough. And once you understand that, you stop exhausting yourself. You stop defending every decision. You stop explaining every boundary. You stop seeking permission to protect your peace. Instead, you quietly trust Allah. You let your character speak. You let your actions speak. And most importantly, you let your silence serve Allah instead of serving fear. Remember this: you do not need to shout to have self-respect. You do not need to argue to have dignity. You do not need to become harsh to become strong. A believer can be calm and firm at the same time, gentle and powerful at the same time, merciful and wise at the same time. That is true strength. So if you have spent years suffering in silence, learn this lesson today. Your silence is not permission anymore. Your silence is not a free pass for people to keep hurting you. Your silence is not an invitation for disrespect. Speak when truth needs to be spoken. Set boundaries when boundaries are needed. Walk away when peace requires distance. And when you choose silence, let it be the silence of wisdom, not the silence of fear. Because Allah did not create you to spend your life shrinking yourself for the comfort of people. Allah created you to worship Him with dignity, honesty, wisdom, and strength. And sometimes the first step toward that strength is realizing that your voice matters too. 5. Be kind for Allah, not to be needed by people. This may be the deepest lesson of all, because sometimes the greatest danger is not that people use your kindness. Sometimes the greatest danger is that you unknowingly begin using your kindness to seek something from people. Not money, not favors, not attention, but something much more subtle. Their approval, their acceptance, their love, their validation, their need for you. This is where many sincere people become trapped without even realizing it. They think they are giving for Allah. They think they are helping for Allah. They think they are sacrificing for Allah. But deep inside, there is another motivation quietly hiding in the heart. A desire to be needed. A desire to feel important. A desire to feel valuable. A desire to feel loved. And because of this, they continue giving long after wisdom tells them to stop. They continue sacrificing long after their soul is exhausted. They continue tolerating disrespect because they fear losing their place in someone's life. This is why some people remain in toxic relationships for years. Not because they enjoy the pain, not because they are weak, but because somewhere deep inside they have connected their worth to being needed. They have convinced themselves that if people stop needing them, then perhaps they are no longer valuable. But this is one of the biggest illusions Shaitan can place inside the heart. Your value does not come from being needed by people. Your value comes from being a servant of Allah. Read that again. Your value does not come from how many people call you. Your value does not come from how many people depend on you. Your value does not come from how many people praise you. Your value does not come from how useful you are. Your value comes from Allah. And once you truly understand that, your entire life begins to change. Because suddenly, you stop giving from desperation. You start giving from sincerity. You stop helping because you fear rejection. You start helping because you hope for reward from Allah. You stop sacrificing because you are afraid people will leave. You start sacrificing only when it pleases Allah. And this creates a completely different type of kindness. A stronger kindness, a cleaner kindness, a healthier kindness. The problem with seeking validation from people is that people are unstable. Today they praise you. Tomorrow they criticize you. Today they appreciate you. Tomorrow they forget you. Today they need you. Tomorrow they replace you. If your happiness depends on people's appreciation, your peace will never be stable, because people change, people disappoint, people leave, people forget. But Allah never changes. Allah never forgets. Allah never overlooks a sincere act. Allah never ignores a tear shed for His sake. Allah never misses a sacrifice made for His pleasure. This is why the believer's heart must always return to Allah, not to people. Think about how much pain comes from expectations. You help someone and expect gratitude. You support someone and expect loyalty. You sacrifice for someone and expect respect. You remain patient and expect understanding. Then when those expectations are not fulfilled, your heart breaks. You feel betrayed. You feel unappreciated. You feel used. But often the pain is not coming from the act itself. The pain is coming from the expectation attached to the act. You gave for people, so you expected something from people. And when it did not come, disappointment entered your heart. But when you give for Allah, something beautiful happens. You become free. You are no longer controlled by outcomes. You are no longer emotionally dependent on reactions. You are no longer waiting for applause. You are no longer desperate for appreciation, because your reward is with Allah. And Allah's reward is greater than anything people can offer. This does not mean you stop caring. This does not mean you become cold. This does not mean you stop loving. It means your kindness becomes purified. You help because it is right. You give because it is right. You forgive because it is right. You show mercy because it is right. Not because you are trying to earn a place in someone's heart. Not because you are trying to make people stay. Not because you are afraid of being abandoned. One of the saddest things in life is watching good people destroy themselves trying to earn love from those who never intended to give it. They keep proving themselves, keep sacrificing, keep explaining, keep serving, keep tolerating, all because they hope one day the other person will finally appreciate them. But some people will never appreciate what they did not have to earn. Some people will never value what is always available. Some people will never respect what they can easily access. And that is why your worth cannot depend on their recognition. Your worth must come from Allah alone. Because Allah sees everything. He sees the nights nobody knows about. He sees the tears nobody noticed. He sees the sacrifices nobody appreciated. He sees the kindness nobody thanked you for. He sees the pain hidden behind your smile. And most importantly, He knows your intentions. People judge actions. Allah judges hearts. People see what you do. Allah sees why you do it. That is why sincerity is so powerful. The moment your heart becomes attached to Allah instead of people, you become emotionally free. You no longer chase approval. You no longer beg for validation. You no longer need constant reassurance. You no longer feel destroyed when someone walks away, because your foundation is no longer built on people. It is built on Allah, and anything built on Allah remains strong. This is also why some of the happiest believers are not necessarily the most loved by people. They are simply the most connected to Allah. They have learned a secret many people never discover. The secret that peace comes from Allah, not from human approval. The secret that dignity comes from Allah, not from popularity. The secret that worth comes from Allah, not from being needed. Once this enters your heart, you stop chasing relationships that constantly drain you. You stop forcing connections that Allah may be removing from your life. You stop begging for seats at tables where your presence is not valued. You stop shrinking yourself to keep others comfortable. Instead, you walk with quiet confidence, not arrogance, not pride, just certainty. Certainty that Allah is enough. Certainty that Allah sees you. Certainty that Allah values you. Certainty that Allah knows your heart. And when Allah becomes enough, people lose the power to control your emotions. You can still love them, but you no longer depend on them. You can still help them, but you no longer need their praise. You can still be kind, but you no longer allow yourself to be used. This is the balance every believer must learn. Be generous but not desperate. Be loving but not dependent. Be merciful but not blind. Be forgiving but not available for repeated harm. Be kind, but never at the expense of your relationship with Allah. Because at the end of the day, people may forget what you did for them. People may overlook your sacrifices. People may never thank you. But Allah remembers every single act done for His sake. And the reward of Allah is far greater than the temporary approval of people. So from today, make this intention deep inside your heart. I will remain kind, but my kindness belongs to Allah. I will help people, but I will not worship their approval. I will love people, but I will not depend on their validation. I will give, forgive, and serve, but my reward will always be with Allah. Because when your kindness is for Allah alone, nobody can use it against you. And that is true freedom. Before you leave, remember this powerful truth. Allah did not create you to spend your life proving your worth to people. You do not need to exhaust yourself to be loved. You do not need to sacrifice your peace to be accepted. You do not need to let people use your kindness to prove that you have a good heart. Your kindness is a gift from Allah. Protect it. Your heart is an amana from Allah. Guard it. Your dignity is a blessing from Allah. Never trade it for anyone's approval. The people who truly value you will respect your boundaries. The people who only valued what they could take from you may walk away. Let them. Because anyone who leaves when you stop being easy to use was never attached to your heart in the first place. And always remember, you can be kind without being controlled. You can forgive without being foolish. You can love without losing yourself. You can help people without abandoning your own soul. Most importantly, you can walk away from what hurts you while still keeping a clean heart before Allah. So from this day forward, make one sincere intention. Ya Allah, make me kind but not weak, merciful but not blind, forgiving but not easy to exploit, and keep my heart attached to you more than it is attached to people. Because the moment your heart becomes satisfied with Allah, people lose the power to control your peace. And that is one of the greatest forms of freedom a believer can ever attain. May Allah protect your heart, increase your wisdom, strengthen your boundaries, and make your kindness a means of drawing closer to Him, not a reason for people to take advantage of you. Ameen.